at 51, 19 voluntary carbon standards, and 2 Plan Vivo projects. In metric tons, Kenya has issued over 12.3 million certified emission reductions, CERs, with the top 3 subsectors being grid-connected renewable power, and this is geothermal and wind, which take a 39% share. Improved cook stoves take 40%, and water purification stands at 20%. Geothermal projects have the highest issuances, with about 4.7 million CERs, and that is 41%, followed by improved cook stoves with about 4.5 million CERs, and water purification activities with about 1.6 million CERs. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of bilateral agreements, although there was little progress on the operationalization of Article 6.4 at COP28, Article 6.2 remains operational since the establishment of the rulebook at COP26 in 2021. Countries are already engaging in Article 6.2 collaboration. In 2012, Kenya and the government of Japan agreed to cooperate bilaterally through the Joint Crediting Mechanism, JCM. As of January, there were 5 JCM model projects registered and in different stages of development and implementation. The MOU between Kenya and Japan, signed in 2012, needs to be renewed in line with the Climate Change Act 2016 and Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. I am also pleased to inform you that our bilateral agreement with the government of Switzerland is at an advanced stage. We are also initiating negotiations with Sweden and other key strategic countries to create opportunities for trading. Kenya is also actively involved with the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, carbon offsetting and reduction scheme for international aviation through Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. Our national carrier, Kenya Airways, and Astral Aviation based at the Wilson Airport are actively involved in the voluntary pilot phase. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to talk about the setup of our legal framework for carbon markets. The government has recently amended the Climate Change Act 2016 to provide for overarching legislative requirements for regulated and unregulated markets. The Act provides legislation on the process of participating in carbon markets, governance structures, social and environmental benefits of carbon projects, and outlining the benefit sharing framework for communities through the community development agreements, which shall outline the relationships therein. The Act also establishes a national carbon registry and provides for the appointment of the designated national authority who shall be the custodian of the registry. And we have actually done the appointment. I have appointed a DNA already. It is pending gazettement. In terms of subsidiary legislation, the Climate Change Act requires my office to make 4 regulations to fully operationalize the carbon markets. As you are aware, we initiated the process of developing carbon market regulations last year and continue to receive overwhelming comments from stakeholders. My ministry is currently reviewing these comments for incorporation in the regulation where and as appropriate. Furthermore, we are also resource mobilizing to initiate the process of developing the remaining 3 regulations, namely the carbon trading, carbon registries, and non-market approaches regulations. I must say here that we are really dragging our feet to close this process for good intention. And I would like to urge all of us here and our climate envoy that one of the outcomes of this dialogue today should be very firm. I know most of you have interacted with the process of developing the carbon markets regulations, but given that it's a nascent environment, high interest, with the interest that Kenya has to make sure that this is a process that will be of high integrity, we still welcome a write-up from these discussions on solid proposals on what should go to the regulations, given that we still have a window. And like I say, I'm dragging my feet to close for good intention for all of us, so that the product of this process of amending our laws and developing the regulations becomes one that is very comprehensive in terms of input from all sources of expertise. In terms of carbon budget, Kenya's carbon budget is innately embedded in our updated nationally determined contributions, NDC, mitigation target. Our mitigation target is economy-wide, covering all IPCC sectors or greenhouse gas sectors, meaning all sectors are inside our NDC and eligible for trading. The Climate Change Directorate is in close collaboration with relevant sectors, have already started working on the process of updating our greenhouse gas inventory to guide on the carbon budget using most current information on what can be traded and what needs to be set aside for the NDC in line with the guidance of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement Rulebook. The updated GHG inventory will be critical in guiding my office in authorizing corresponding adjustments and transfers of mitigation outcomes. Again, the process of making sure we have our GHG inventory right is of critical importance and is at top priority at my ministry at the moment. We are also in the process of developing a whitelist of projects to ramp up ambition and create new opportunities for trading in hard-to-abate sectors and emerging technologies. This piece is part of the ongoing carbon markets regulations process. We must do more to unlock the full potential that lies in the carbon markets space. Despite the rise in emission trading schemes and carbon taxes, the price of 1 ton of carbon varies between less than $10 to over $100. With the right pricing, climate markets could play a larger role in mobilizing resources for low carbon investments in the continent and beyond. I urge the private sector to continue innovating, to support the development of carbon markets, to help us achieve the desired ambition and carbon finance. Despite the incremental progress, we have to acknowledge the institutional, technological, and capacity gaps in carbon markets required to design and operationalize the legal framework and the carbon registry. We are equally challenged by the low level of general public awareness in this space, the low levels of general public awareness in this space, and are currently working to address this. This then is a call for our partners to join hands with us to support in bridging the capacity, technological, and institutional gaps there that are existing currently within the ministry to make sure that we deliver a good product in the name of a carbon markets space for all of us. Finally, ensuring the success of Kenya's carbon markets integrity is a high priority, like I have already said, for me and the government in general. Carbon markets is a very sensitive, and this is in the space of reputational risk, and we are keen to make sure that we ensure high integrity, as I have already said, and this cannot be overemphasized. I encourage all of us to maintain high ethical values and integrity when handling carbon markets projects in Kenya at all times. How well the mechanism contributes to the broader community is also of critical importance. I wish all of us fruitful deliberations and look forward to the outcomes of this meeting to go towards enriching the processes we are undertaking within the ministry. I will now take this opportunity. Oh, you can clap for me. Allow me now to invite my colleague, Honorable Njuguna Ndongo, to make his remarks. He's the one who will help us put everything into perspective and make sure we are doing matters finance right. Karibu.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, CS Soipan. I'm not so sure that I'm the one to do all that you said, because for me, and being from the National Treasury and also being a development economist, I'm looking at those aspects that are going to give me a good handle in terms of where we are going. But let me make a few points just to make sure that at least I'm in line with the subject matter, but more importantly in terms of how I put it to my own side. And I do believe that with those 3 points I want to make, it's actually in a way of trying to invite the chief guest. First, let me say the Africa Climate Summit 23 in Nairobi was a real eye-opener, and for the African scene itself. It made a few declarations, what we call Nairobi declarations. Very, very important that you cannot decompose or separate climate change with the development agenda. And secondly, coming at a time when the Horn of Africa was suffering from a devastating drought we hadn't seen for 40 years, and was subsequently followed by an El Nino in the same year, it was actually bringing to light the realities in terms of climate change. And that for us is very, very critical, because it gave us an idea in terms of what is happening and what we really need to do to reverse that. So in a sense, it becomes very, very important that we can talk about the development agenda, but clothe it in terms of where are we coming from and where are we going. That is very, very important for me, because it gives us a very important dimension in terms of where we are going since the Nairobi Declaration. And what has followed subsequently is that we have to push the agenda even further. They are coming up with the IDA 21 replenishment, which His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya has agreed to champion from the request of the World Bank. And what he's actually going to be doing is actually to push the Nairobi Declaration or the African Climate Summit to the next level of saying, African economies, we have to redefine our priorities, and those priorities can only be managed by resources. We wanted the multilateral institutions to actually manage or create capacity to change the global financial architecture. But we wanted to finance development. We wanted so many other things. So in a sense, the next month there will be a summit, the presidents in Africa and beyond who will be trying to help champion, or the president will be using that to champion IDA 21 replenishment. So you can imagine the continuation is with us. The second point is that since we are talking about climate change and the development agenda, the next thing is, what development agenda are we looking at? That is where I like the whole idea of Kenya Carbon Markets Conference. Carbon markets is very, very important. I look at 3 factors that actually has made African development in the last 50 years or so, we haven't even managed to overcome. And the first one deals with human capital development. You have seen even this, there is a theme that is also going around with the World Bank in terms of what makes middle-income countries stagnate. And the answer is human capital development. I've looked at this issue across several African countries, and we start from looking at education, we go to looking at health, we end up looking at labor markets, and finally we look at nutrition outcomes. And you can tell that they are all interconnected. Depending on wherever you start, you'll find that the human capital development indicators are low just because of that interconnectedness. So the whole issue is how do we reverse that? The second thing that ties to the subject matter today is actually the collapse of markets, especially in key sectors. You go look for examples in any African country, and you realize that they stagnated, all reversed their conditions just because markets collapsed. Some of them, the influence of climate change. And finally, in this area, it's actually what I call domestic resource mobilization, which is part of the whole menu of policies, including taxation, tax instruments, and even domestic resource mobilization in general. That ties me to the third point, which is the subject matter today on developments in the carbon market, or even carbon markets development in Kenya. And it tells me that development of markets is very, very important. And carbon market is a new market. For me, I would wish, especially coming from the National Treasury, I would wish there is a market where it brings me even carbon taxes, isn't it? For you, you are looking at carbon markets, carbon credits, but for me, I want to zero down and say, what about carbon taxes? Can I enlarge my tax base? That is the important subject matter, which again, I emphasize why I'm here. So essentially, you have to have your specialization, and I have my specialization then. And I do know that from a few points I can make on carbon markets and carbon markets development, I'm excited by this subject matter. Carbon markets, like any other market, require the development of a whole ecosystem to produce the desired results. And you can tell from even my second point about markets, why some countries failed in their development discourse is because markets in critical areas collapsed. Second, carbon markets is an innovative solution that can play an important role in the global journey to net zero emission. The market facilitates the sale of credits for emissions that are removed or avoided by a project to other parties. So it's a compensation process. And the markets provide a mechanism for efficiently allocating resources to emissions reduction projects and ensuring that the reductions are achieved at the lowest possible cost. So where are we now? It means it is an incentive. It can create resources, but more importantly, it's an incentive actually for our own system of ecological restoration. Yesterday we spent a whole morning discussing ecological restoration in the Lake Victoria region with the CS Soipan, with about 16 county governors who are surrounding the lake. And for us, it was really an eye-opener. It is telling us that we can only succeed if we have an incentive. That incentive is actually this market, carbon market. It has different dimensions, and it will allow us to actually restore the ecological framework or even the biodiversity, because it has some development avenues that are very, very important. So it's a subject matter I would like to participate in. It's a subject matter I think will be very helpful, but it's also a subject matter that will live with us for a long time, so it means that we can perfect it. That for me is very, very important. And for that, I don't know whether I had the honor to invite the chief guest, but the main person is actually my colleague and friend Soipan. But myself, I wanted to make sure that those points are critical because as a development economist, I would like to make sure that I position myself in particular in terms of the activities that we push on. But more importantly, it tells us why we have, should I say, shifted a lot of fiscal resources to save lives because of climate change from one extreme to the other extreme. But more importantly, in the process of restoration, we are going to create or recreate the development agenda in a big way. So thank you very much for this conference. I will learn more, and I keep packaging some of the ideas that I'm getting, and I can use, for me, of course, you can imagine, given the kind of pressure I get from my office, I would like to use these ideas in the morning. So thank you very much, and good morning.
Professor, you will be happy to know that, and we have discussed this with you, that we have some carbon tax proposals in the regulations, levies here and there. So like we agreed, we are going to have a sitting with you to help us panel beat some of the proposals. So I'm sure you'll be working with us everywhere we go with that incentive. It's now my singular honor to invite our chief guest for today, His Excellency, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary, to make his keynote address. Welcome, Your Excellency. We can do that with a clap to welcome him.
Asante sana. Please be seated. First of all, let me do something on behalf of my colleagues that please accept our apology. We were supposed to have been here at 9:30 or thereabouts, but our boss, the President of the Republic, summoned a very important meeting. And we had to deal with a few issues. So kindly accept our apology, because I know you're all very busy people, but these things do happen. So Cabinet Secretaries, that is Professor Njuguna, Soipan Tuya, Ali, our Special Envoy on Matters Environment, government officials, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make a disclaimer. This statement was actually a statement that was supposed to be made by the President. So I will not veer away from what is in this particular statement. But perhaps towards the end, I may just spend a minute or two to say something. So let me welcome you all to this two-day conference that brings us together to share knowledge on carbon market opportunities. This forum serves as a platform for Kenya to showcase its remarkable strides in fostering an enabling environment for investment in carbon markets, promote prosperity for all Kenyans. The rich diversity of participants gathered here today, from government officials representing various ministries to financiers and project developers from different parts of the world, underlines the importance that we attach to climate-positive growth and sustainable development. The theme, delivering on carbon finance, reflects the urgent need for us to address the climate crisis and find lasting solutions to the impact of climate change on our economies and our people. It also demonstrates our commitment to build on the momentum created by the first ever Africa Climate Summit that Kenya hosted in September 2023 under the leadership of President William Samoei Ruto, who is the chair of the Committee of the African Heads of State and government on climate change. The groundbreaking Nairobi Declaration, arising from the summit, emphasized the crucial role of reforming the multilateral financial system to ensure efficient funding for Africa's climate actions. This includes leveraging innovative financial instruments and adopting a comprehensive approach to increase Africa's participation in the carbon markets and ensure it benefits from them. As you are well aware, Africa's contribution to global emission is minimal, but the continent suffers disproportionately from climate change vulnerability. Yet, this is not a story of despair, but one of untapped potential and opportunity. With its rich renewable energy resources, vast expanses of arable land, and diverse terrestrial and marine ecosystems, Africa stands at the cusp of sustainable economic growth and green industrialization. Carbon markets have emerged as a pivotal financial instrument that can catalyze climate action by providing a flow of carbon finance to stimulate green growth. It incentivizes the reduction and removal of emissions, thus encouraging countries and corporations across the globe to invest in cleaner, more sustainable technologies while spurring innovation and technological advancements in energy efficiency, renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, and conservation of our forests and grasslands. However, carbon markets have faced serious scandals regarding greenwashing and community injustices. To address this, strong government and industry action on integrity are necessary to ensure equitable benefit sharing with communities and to protect them from exploitation. Carbon credits being produced must be of high quality and used credibly. This is the approach that Kenya has taken. The amendment of our Climate Change Act is a testament to these efforts as it lays the legal groundwork for carbon market activities in law, protects community benefits, and promotes investor confidence. From the Act, we are now at the finish line with developing regulations. So today, we are signaling to the world that Kenya is ready to turn opportunity to real carbon finance flow. The past has its tales of missed opportunities and shortcomings, like the clean development mechanism's failure to leverage Africa's role in benefiting from the global carbon market. But wallowing on these moments won't do. Instead, let us use the lessons learned to steer the way towards innovative, locally grown solutions that transform obstacles into drivers of climate-positive growth. The voluntary carbon market peaked at $2 billion in 2022, a minuscule amount in comparison to compliance markets globally that totaled several hundreds of billions of dollars in the same year. Prices in compliance markets hit over $80 per ton, whereas credits from Africa, the voluntary carbon market, attract less than $10 a ton. This conference should deeply interrogate the causes of these disparities and discuss strategies for securing premium rates for Kenya's high-quality carbon credits. From 2016 to 2021, Kenya issued approximately 26 million metric tons of carbon credits in the voluntary carbon market, making it a leader in the African space with 23% market share of the continent. This is just the beginning. These efforts signal the potential that lies with Kenya's capacity to sequester, reduce, and avoid approximately 30 million metric tons of carbon per year. Our potential is to harness up to $600 million annually by 2030 through sale of high-quality carbon credits. Success in the carbon market is no simple feat. These high revenue projections mean little if a robust legal, institutional, and infrastructure framework isn't in place. It is necessary to ensure that projects issue carbon credits, but do so with integrity and quality. Our commitment is to build capacity, develop markets tailored to our unique socioeconomic landscape, and foster innovative solutions that mobilize financial resources and empower people. When talking about carbon and Africa, people tend to immediately think of nature conservation and restoration. And that certainly is important and a great opportunity. Uniquely, His Excellency President Ruto is driving an all-of-economy approach, putting competitive climate action at the core of Kenya's development. And this includes a wide range of sectors, from green industrialization to electric transport, and from clean cooking to climate-smart agriculture. Today, we will have the opportunity to explore all these areas, the business opportunities they represent, and their unique requirements when it comes to financing, quality, and integrity, data needs, and community benefication and engagement. Kenya's proactive stance, particularly with the launch of the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative at COP28, heralds a new era. This initiative isn't just about attracting investments. It's about redefining industrial development through green production, privileging natural resources, and unlocking the potential of carbon finance to fuel energy efficiency and subsidize technology costs in manufacturing. Community-centered projects are at the heart of this transformation, ensuring proceeds are equally shared by marrying investments with community needs. We not only foster social cohesion and improve livelihoods, but also enhance the appeal of carbon credits to buyers looking for quality and impact. Collaboration between the government and private sector and financial institutions is key for Kenya to benefit early from the resurgence of carbon markets. Our memorandum of understanding with Switzerland and the forthcoming bilateral agreement under Article 6 epitomizes this spirit, aiming to catalyze climate across vital sectors. The early engagement of local commercial banks in carbon finance is valuable. Their role in providing tailored financial solutions can accelerate our transition to a low-carbon economy, driving sustainable development and fostering local economic growth. This conference therefore highlights our common vision to advance high-integrity carbon markets. Let us continue working towards a future where our collective efforts in this space translates into tangible, impactful climate action. Thank you. End of statement. Now that I have said that, I'll tell you what I wanted to tell you on my part. It's a good story. I had a dream. At my age, don't often have dreams. But I had a dream. I come from a tea growing area. And I started wondering, because the whole issue of green, carbon credits and everything keeps on coming back. So I started saying, we produce tea as Kenya. Can we have green tea, but not just green tea, real green tea? And I started wondering, just imagine, there are 72 KTDA tea factories in Kenya. And there are several private sector factories. Now, most of these tea factories use wood fuel, eucalyptus trees to fire and burn the boilers. If it is not wood fuel, then there's diesel. And if it is not diesel, of course, some will be lucky to be connected to electricity. Now, the collection centers, you have trucks that go out to collect the tea in the rural areas, meandering the roads, emitting all these emissions we talk about. So I had a dream. Can you imagine if all the tea factories were fired by solar? All of them. And this is my dream. I was just dreaming. And then get all the trucks that go to the tea buying centers, the collection centers, have them as electric trucks. Then have this tea processed. Then have it exported. Then have it consumed somewhere. It will be just green tea, but real green tea. And then my next dream was, and that is where you as experts would help us, because it's at that point that I woke up from my dream. How do we get that ordinary tea farmer to make sense out of this conversation about carbon credits, about green industrialization? What can we do to get a serious buy-in from that tea farmer so that he can know that when he or she produces real green tea, if they were earning so much per kilo for their tea, they will know that by producing real green tea, they've earned an extra $2 or $3 per kilogram for their tea. That was my dream. You are the experts. Is it possible you can make this dream a reality? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and for sharing your dream with us. I believe that is the import. For us to really make sure that the discussions we are having in boardrooms make sense and economic sense at most for our communities. So we need to make that a reality. And we are not short of experts to help us decipher that and come up with very tangible impacts for our populations on matters carbon markets. Thank you very much. Let's have another round of applause for His Excellencies. his speech. We will now do a photo session right here. I'll invite you, Your Excellency, PCS, together with the Honorable C.S. Ndongo, the climate envoy, our envoy for technology here. Where are the photo guys? Do we do it up here? Okay. Kindly come up, yeah.
Yeah, others can take the second row.